The stars looked cold and distant through the bridge windows of the stellar dawn. Captain Vexistar stood with his forearms crossed behind his back, watching the empty space around them. His blue skin had turned a darker shade, which meant he was worried, very worried. "Captain," said Engineer Kyleson from his station. His voice was tight with fear. "The main engine is completely dead. I cannot fix it." Vextar closed his large black eyes for a moment. The Stellar Dawn was the pride of the Zelkari fleet. It was supposed to be the safest ship in space. But now they were stuck in the middle of nowhere, with no way to move. "How long do we have?" Vextar asked. "Life support will last maybe 10 days, Kyleson replied. "Maybe less if we cannot fix the air recycling system." The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. 6 crew members sat at their stations, all looking scared. They were the best of the best, chosen for this important mission. They were carrying peace talks that could stop a war between 2 star systems. But none of that mattered now if they could not get their ship moving again. "Send out a distress call," Vextar ordered. "All frequencies, maximum range." Communications Officer Zara Lynn turned to her console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Signal is broadcasting, Captain, but the nearest Zelkari ship is 3 weeks away. They will not reach us in time." Vextar nodded slowly. He had known this already. They were in a dead zone between star systems. No trade routes passed through here. No colonies existed nearby. They had chosen this path because it was safe from pirates and enemy forces. Now that same safety was going to kill them. "Keep broadcasting," he said. "Maybe someone else will hear us." Far away, in a different part of space, Jake Miller was having a very normal day. He sat in the pilot's chair of his cargo ship, the Lucky Strike, drinking coffee from a metal cup. The coffee was terrible, but it was hot, and it kept him awake during the long flights between colonies. Jake was 32 years old with brown hair and kind eyes. He was not tall or strong, but he was smart, and he worked hard. He had been flying cargo ships for 10 years, bringing supplies to miners and colonists in the outer systems. It was not exciting work, but it paid the bills and let him see the galaxy. The Lucky Strike was old. Really old. Jake had bought it cheap and fixed it, up himself. The hull was patched in a dozen places. The engines made strange noises. The computer was so old it still used voice commands. But the ship was reliable, and it was his. "Lisa," Jake said to the ship's computer. "How much longer to Kepler Station?" 14 hours and 37 minutes, Jake," the computer replied. Lisa's voice was warm and friendly. Jake had programmed her that way. After spending months alone in space, he needed someone to talk to, even if it was just a computer. "Any interesting news while I was sleeping?" "The usual stuff. Politics, trade, reports. Some pirates caught near the Vega system. Oh, and there's a strange signal on the emergency frequencies." Jake sat up straighter. "Emergency signal? Play it." The bridge speakers crackled to life. At first there was only static. Then came a voice speaking in a language Jake had never heard before. The words were musical, but urgent. Fear was clear in the speaker's tone, even if Jake could not understand the words. "Lisa, can you translate this?" "Working on it," Lisa said. "The language is completely unknown to me, but I'm picking up mathematical patterns and star coordinates. This appears to be a distress call." Jake leaned forward in his chair. In awe. His years of flying, he had never heard an alien language before. Humans had been traveling space for over 100 years, but they had never found intelligent life. Scientists said it was out there somewhere, but space was so big that finding it was almost impossible. "Where is the signal coming from?" Jake asked. "About 6 hours away at maximum speed. But Jake, regulations say we're not supposed to respond to unknown signals without military backup." Jake stared at the star map on his screen. A small red dot showed where the signal was coming from. Some kind of intelligent beings were out there, scared and calling for help. The regulations said he should report it and let the military handle it. But that could take days or weeks. By then, whoever was sending the signal might be dead. What kind of person would I be if I ignored someone? "Calling for help?" Jake asked. "A smart one who follows the rules," Lisa replied, "but also not a very good one." Jake smiled. He had programmed Lisa to be honest, sometimes too honest. "Plot a course for that signal. Maximum speed." Course plotted. "Jake, are you sure about this? We don't know what we're flying into. It could be dangerous." "Everything in space is dangerous," Jake said as he strapped himself into his seat. "Besides, if someone needs help, we help them. That's what humans do." The Lucky Strike turned toward the distress signal. Its old engines roared to life, pushing the ship faster than it was supposed to go. Behind them, the cargo of mining equipment and food supplies shifted in the hold. Ahead of them, something waited in the darkness of space. Jake had no idea that he was about to make history. He was just doing what felt right. In a few hours, he would meet beings from another world. He would learn that sometimes the most important things happen when ordinary people choose to do the right thing, even when it is hard. The stars seemed a little less cold as the Lucky Strike raced through space toward an unknown future. 6 hours later, Jake saw the alien ship for the first time. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The Stellar Dawn was 3 times bigger than his cargo ship, with smooth white walls that seemed to glow in the starlight. Strange. Symbols covered its hull, and blue lights pulsed along its edges like a heartbeat. But something was wrong. The ship was not moving. Dark smoke drifted from holes in its side. Parts of it looked melted or broken. Jake could see why they had sent a distress call. "Lisa, scan that ship. Are there life signs?" "Yes, Jake. I count 6 beings aboard. Their life support is failing. They have maybe 8 hours of air left." Jake took a deep breath. This was really happening. He was looking at a ship built by aliens, with aliens inside it. His hands shook a little as he reached for the communication controls. "Unknown vessel. This is Jake Miller aboard the cargo ship Lucky Strike. I received your distress call. Do you need help?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the speakers crackled to life. A voice spoke in that same musical language Jake had heard before. It sounded surprised and maybe a little angry. "Lisa, can you translate now?" "I'm learning their language from their broadcasts. Give me a moment." There was a pause. "Okay, I think I can translate basic phrases. The speaker is asking who you are and how you learned their language." Jake smiled. "Tell them I'm a human. Tell them I want to help." Lisa converted Jake's words into the alien language and broadcast them. The response came quickly, and this time, Lisa translated it in real time. The speaker says his name is Captain Vextar. He asks what a human is. He says his ship needs repair, but they do not know if they can trust you. Tell him I understand, but his crew will die if we don't work together. I have tools and spare parts that might help. There was a longer pause this time. Jake could imagine. The aliens talking among themselves, trying to decide what to do. Finally, the captain's voice came back through the translator. "Captain Vexistar says you may approach, but you must come alone and you may not bring weapons." No problem, Jake said. I don't carry weapons anyway. Jake put on his spacesuit and checked all the seals. The suit was old like everything else on his ship, but it worked. He gathered his toolbox and some spare parts that might be useful. Then he climbed into the small shuttle that was attached to the Lucky Strike. The short flight to the alien ship felt like the longest trip of his life. As he got closer, he could see how badly damaged it was. Whoever had built this ship was much more advanced than humans, but even advanced technology could break. The alien ship's docking bay opened with a soft hiss. Jake flew his shuttle inside and landed on a smooth metal floor. The bay was huge, big enough to hold a dozen ships his size. Everything was clean and white and perfect, except for the black scorch marks from whatever had damaged the ship. As Jake stepped out of his shuttle, he heard footsteps. 6 aliens walked toward him, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. They were beautiful in a strange way. Each one was about 7 feet tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. Their heads were larger than human heads, and their black eyes seemed to see everything at once. The one in front wore what looked like a uniform with golden symbols on it. This had to be Captain Vex's tar. He walked up to Jake and stopped about 10 feet away. When he spoke, a small device on his chest translated his words into English. "You are very small," Vexitar said. His voice was deep and musical. "And your technology is very old. How can you possibly help us?" Jake smiled and held up his toolbox. "Sometimes old and simple works better than new and complicated. May I see the damage?" One of the other aliens, wearing an engineer's uniform, stepped forward. "I am Engineer Kyleson. Our main engine has suffered a cascade failure. The power core is unstable. Our computer systems cannot find a solution." "Can you show me?" Jake asked. Kyleson looked at Captain Vextar, who nodded slowly. "Follow me, human." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Everything was beautiful and clean, but Jake could smell smoke in the air. Emergency lights flashed, red in some areas. This ship was definitely in trouble. The engine room was huge, filled with machines that hummed and glowed with blue light. But in the center, something was very wrong. A massive metal cylinder was cracked open like a broken egg. Blue energy sparked and jumped between the pieces. The air around it shimmered with heat. "This is our main power core," Kilson explained. "When it failed, it damaged all the systems connected to it. Our repair robots cannot work in the radiation field it creates." Jake studied the damage for several minutes. The aliens watched him carefully, probably wondering what this small human could possibly do that their advanced computers had not already tried. "I can fix this," Jake said finally. Kyleson's 4 arms moved in what might have been laughter. "Impossible. Our computers have analyzed every possible repair method. None will work." "Your computers are thinking too hard," Jake replied. "Sometimes the best solution is the simple one. I need to shut down this power core completely and rebuild the connections by hand. It will take time, but it will work." "You want to shut down our main power?" Captain Vexitar asked. "That will kill all our life support systems." "Not if we work fast and smart," Jake said. "My ship has a small fusion reactor. We can run cables between our ships and use my power to keep your life support running while I fix your engine." The aliens looked at each other. Jake could see they were not sure about his plan. Their technology was so advanced that they had probably never thought about fixing things the simple way. "Why are you helping us?" asked a female alien with silver markings on her arms. "You do not know us. We could be your enemies." Jake shrugged. "You're not shooting at me, and you need help. That's enough for me. Humans help people who are in trouble. It's just what we do. The female alien stared at him for a long moment. I am Communications Officer Zara Lynn. I have studied many species, but I have never heard of humans before. Where do you come from? Earth, Jake said. A small blue planet about 50 light years from here. We're still pretty new to space. Travel. And you came all this way just to help strangers? Zara Lynn asked. Well, I was delivering supplies to a mining colony, but when I heard your distress call, I had to come. Wouldn't you do the same thing? The aliens were quiet for a moment. Finally, Captain Vextar spoke. Our species does not usually help others without expecting something in return. But you are offering to risk your life for beings you have never seen before. That's what friends do, Jake said simply. Captain Vextar studied Jake's face for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. Very well, human Jake Miller. Show us how you would fix our ship. As Jake began explaining his plan, he could see the aliens starting to understand that sometimes the old ways were the best ways, and for the first time since their engine had failed, there was hope in their large black eyes. Jake had been working for 6 hours straight. His spacesuit was soaked with sweat, and his hands were sore from using tools in the thick gloves. But he was making progress. The power cable from his ship was now connected to the Stellar Dawn's life support systems. The alien's air was flowing again. How is it possible that this is working? Kyleson asked for the 10th time. He stood beside Jake, watching every move. Our computers said it could not be done. Jake smiled as he welded 2 metal pieces together. Computers think about all the things that could go wrong. Humans think about all the ways to make things work. Sometimes that makes the difference. The alien engineer picked up one of Jake's tools, turning it over in his 4 hands. This is very simple, very basic, but you are doing things with it that our advanced equipment could not do. Different doesn't mean better, Jake replied. Your tools are amazing, but they're made to work perfectly with your systems. When those systems break, the tools don't know what to do. My tools are simple, so they can adapt to any problem. While Jake worked, Zara Lynn sat nearby, asking him questions about human culture. She wanted to know everything about Earth, about human society, about why humans helped strangers. On your world, do all humans act like you? She asked. Jake paused in his work. Not all of them, no. Some humans are selfish or mean, but most of us try to help when we can. We have a saying, we're all in this together. When someone is in trouble, their problems become our problems too. That is very different from Zelkari culture, Zara Lynn said. We help our own people, our own families, but strangers, that is unusual. Maybe that's why we're out here, Jake said. Humans are curious about everyone and everything. We want to meet new people and learn new things, even if they're dangerous. Captain Vexitar, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. Jake, I must tell you something. Our engine failure was not an accident. Jake stopped working and looked up. What do you mean? Someone sabotaged our ship, Vextar explained. We are carrying important documents that could stop a war between 2 star systems. There are people who want that war to happen. They want us to fail. That's terrible, Jake said. But why are you telling me this? Because the sabotage was very clever. Whoever did it knew our systems perfectly. They damage things in ways that our computers cannot understand or fix. But you... Vextar gestured at Jake's work. You are finding solutions that our technology cannot see. Jake looked around at the engine room. Now that he knew what to look for, he could see signs of sabotage everywhere. Wires that had been cut in just the right places. Components that had been damaged to look like normal wear. It was the work of someone who understood Zelkari technology perfectly. "Kyleson," Jake said, "show me the main control circuit." The engineer led him to a panel covered with tiny components. Everything looked normal to Jake's human eyes, but he noticed something strange. One small component was slightly newer than the others around it. "This part here," Jake said, pointing to it. "When was it installed?" Kyleson checked his records. 2 days ago. It was a routine maintenance replacement." "I think this is your problem," Jake said. He carefully removed the component and examined it. Inside, he found a tiny device that didn't belong there. "This is a timer. It was set to overload your power core at a specific time." The aliens stared at the tiny sabotage device in shock. "How did you see that?" Kyleson asked. "Our security. Scans found nothing wrong." "Because I think differently than your computers," Jake explained. "I don't look for what should be there. I look for what shouldn't be there. This little device was hiding inside a normal part, but it was just different enough for human eyes to notice." Captain Vextar took the device from Jake's hands. "With this evidence, we can find the saboteur when we return home. But first, can you fix the damage it caused?" Jake looked around the engine room again. The sabotage had been designed to destroy Zelkari technology beyond repair. But Jake wasn't limited to Zelkari methods. "I can fix it," he said. "But it won't be pretty. I'll have to bypass your main systems and create new connections using my own equipment. Your ship will work, but it won't be as advanced as it was before." "Will it get us home?" Vextar asked. "It'll get you home," Jake promised. For the next several hours, Jake worked like he had never worked before. He connected his simple human technology to the aliens' advanced systems. He used copper wire instead of their energy conduits. He used basic switches instead of their thought-controlled interfaces. The Zelkari watched in amazement as their broken ship slowly came back to life. "This is incredible," Zara Lynn said, as lights began turning on throughout the ship. "You're making our technology work using methods that are thousands of years old." "Sometimes old methods work better because they're simple," Jake replied. "Your technology is amazing, but it's so complex that when one part breaks, everything else stops working. My way is messier, but if one part breaks, the rest keeps running." As Jake made the final connections, Kyleson shook his large head. "I have studied engineering for my entire life. I thought I understood how machines work, but you have shown me things I never imagined." "Different species think differently," Jake said. "That's not a bad thing. It's actually pretty good. Your technology can do things mine never could, but my technology can do things yours never could. Together we can do things neither of us could do alone." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Captain Vexitar rushed to a control panel, and his face darkened. "What's wrong?" Jake asked. "Another ship is approaching," Vextar said. "It's a Zelkari military patrol. They must have received our distress signal." "That's good news, right?" Jake asked. Vextar and his crew exchanged worried looks. "Maybe not," Zara Lynn said quietly. "Some military officers do not like contact with alien species. They might not understand why we accepted help from a human." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had spent hours helping these aliens, learning about their culture, becoming their friend. But now he realized that not all Zelkari might be as accepting as this crew. "Should I go back to my ship?" Jake asked. Captain Vextar thought for a moment. "No. You saved our lives. Whatever happens, I will make sure they understand that. But Jake..." He put one of his 4 hands on Jake's shoulder. "Be ready for anything. Not all of my people are as open-minded as we are." Through the ship's windows, Jake could see lights approaching in the distance. Soon he would meet more aliens. But these ones might not be as friendly as the crew of the Stellar Dawn. He had come out here to help strangers in need. Now he might be the one who needed help. The stars outside seemed cold again as the military ship drew closer. The military ship was huge and dark, covered with weapons and armor. It made the Stellar Dawn look small and fragile. Jake watched through the windows as it moved closer, its hull gleaming like black metal in the starlight. Military vessel steel. "Fang, this is Captain Vexitar of the Stellar Dawn." Vexitar spoke into his communicator. "We have suffered engine failure, but repairs are nearly complete." The response came quickly, and it was not friendly. "Captain Vexitar, this is Commander Tekvar. We received your distress signal. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." Jake could see the tension in the alien crew's faces. "Is this normal?" he asked quietly. "No," Zaralyn whispered back. "Commander Tekvar is known for being difficult. He does not trust anyone who is not Zelkari." Within minutes, the military ship had docked with the Stellar Dawn. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors as armed soldiers marched aboard. Jake had never seen Zelkari warriors before. They were bigger than the crew, with darker blue skin, and scars from old battles. Their weapons looked deadly. Commander Tekvar was the biggest of all. When he entered the bridge, everyone seemed to shrink back. His 4 arms were thick with muscle, and his black eyes were cold and suspicious. "Report," Tekvar demanded. Captain Vexitar stood straight. "Our engine suffered a cascade failure 6 hours ago. We would have died, but we received unexpected help." "What kind of help?" Tekvar's eyes scanned the bridge until they landed on Jake. "And what is that thing?" "This is Jake Miller," Vexitar said calmly. "He is a human from a species called humanity. He responded to our distress call and saved our lives." Tekvar stared at Jake like he was looking at a dangerous animal. "You allowed an alien creature aboard this ship? You shared our technology with an unknown species? This is treason." "It is not treason to accept help when you are dying," Vexitar replied, but his voice was less confident now. Tekvar walked around Jake, studying him from every angle. "This creature is small and weak. How could it possibly repair our advanced technology?" "He used methods our computers could not understand," Kyleson said, stepping forward. "He saved us all." "Impossible," Tekvar said. "Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. No primitive creature could improve on it." He turned to his soldiers. "Arrest this alien. It must be a spy or saboteur." "Wait," Jake said, holding up his hands. "I can prove I was helping them. Look at the repairs I made." But Tekvar was not interested in proof. "Silence, creature. You will be taken to our ship for questioning." 2. Soldiers moved toward Jake, but Captain Vexitar stepped between them. "Commander, I will not allow you to arrest the being who saved my crew." "You forget yourself, Captain," Tekvar growled. "I outrank you. This is now a military matter." As the argument continued, Jake noticed something wrong. The lights on the bridge were flickering. The steady hum of the engines was changing pitch. Something was happening to the ship's power systems. "Captain," Jake said urgently, "something's wrong with the repairs." Everyone turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" Vexitar asked. The military ship's docking process must have damaged the connections I made. Your power core is becoming unstable again. Kyleson checked his instruments and his face went pale. He's right. The power levels are fluctuating wildly. If this continues, the core will overload completely. How long do we have? Vextar asked. Maybe 30 minutes before cascade failure, Kyleson replied. Commander Thekvar looked around the bridge. Then we evacuate immediately. All crew will transfer to the Steel Fang. What about Jake's ship? Zaralyn asked. The alien vessel will be abandoned, Thekvar said coldly. We cannot risk contamination. Jake felt his heart sink. The Lucky. Strike was his home, his livelihood, his life. But more than that, if the Stellar Dawn's power core exploded, it would destroy both ships and kill everyone aboard the military vessel too. Commander, Jake said, I can fix this, but I need to work fast, and I need help. Thekvar laughed harshly. You caused this problem, creature. Why should we trust you to solve it? Because I'm the only one who understands how the repairs work, Jake replied. Your engineer is brilliant, but he thinks like a Zelkari. This problem needs human thinking to solve it. Captain Vexistar looked at his instruments. Commander, the power levels are getting worse. If we don't act soon, all 3 ships will be destroyed. For a moment, Thekvar said nothing. Jake could see him struggling with his pride and his prejudices. Finally, one of his young officers spoke up. Commander, I have studied the readings. The aliens' repairs were working perfectly until our docking procedure disrupted them. Perhaps he can fix what we broke. The young officer was a female with bright, intelligent eyes. Her name tag read, Telana. She looked at Jake with curiosity rather than suspicion. Officer Telana, Thekvar said dangerously, you forget your place. I forget nothing, sir, Telana replied. But I also don't forget that my duty is to protect. Zelkari lives. Right now, this human offers our best chance of survival. Jake stepped forward. Commander, I know you don't trust me. I understand that, but I'm not asking you to trust me for my sake. I'm asking you to trust me for your crew's sake. Let me try to save all of us. Thekvar stared at Jake for a long moment. Around them, the ship's systems continued to fail. Emergency lights flashed, red. The smell of burning circuits filled the air. You have 15 minutes, Thekvar said finally, but you will work under guard. If you try anything suspicious, my soldiers will kill you. Fair enough, Jake said. He turned to Kyleson. I'll need your help. And Captain Vexitar, I'll need you to coordinate power flow between all 3 ships. What about me? Telana asked. I know our military systems better than anyone. Jake smiled at her. I could use all the help I can get. As Jake raced toward the engine room, followed by aliens who had been trying to arrest him minutes before, he realized something important. Crisis had a way of showing people's true character. Some, like Commander Thekvar, held on to their fears and prejudices even when lives were at stake. But others, like Telana and the crew of the Stellar Dawn, were willing to work with anyone who could help. In the engine room, Jake looked at the damaged connections and began planning his next miracle. He had 15 minutes to save 3 ships and prove that sometimes the most important thing wasn't how advanced you were, but how willing you were to help others. The countdown had begun. Jake's hands moved faster than they ever had before. Sweat dripped into his eyes as he worked to reconnect the damaged power lines. Around him, Zelkari engineers and soldiers watched every move he made. The power core is becoming more unstable, Kyleson reported. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete failure. I need more time, Jake said, not looking up from his work. The connections between all three ships are more complex than I thought. Commander Tekvar paced behind them like a caged animal. This is taking too long. We should evacuate now while we still can. And go where? Teliana asked. If these ships explode, the blast will destroy our escape pods too. Our only choice is to trust Jake. Jake paused in his work. He had an idea, but it was crazy. So crazy that it might actually work. I need to speak to the captains of all three ships at once, he said. Why? Tekvar demanded. Because I have a plan. But it requires all three ships to work together in a way that's never been tried before. Within minutes, Jake was standing in the communications center, speaking to Captain Vexitar in person and the captains of the other two ships through video screens. The military ship's captain looked skeptical, but he was listening. Here's what I think we should do, Jake began. Instead of trying to fix the Stellar Dawn's power core, we connect all three ships together and use them as one big ship. The alien captains stared at him in shock. That's impossible, the military captain said. Our ships have completely different systems. Different, yes, Jake replied, but not incompatible. If we link our power systems correctly, we can distribute the load across all three ships. The Stellar Dawn's unstable core becomes just one part of a larger system. You want to turn three ships into one? Teliana asked, her eyes wide. I've never heard of anything like that. Because you think like engineers, Jake said with a smile. I think like a mechanic. Engineers try to make perfect systems. Mechanics just try to make things work. Kyleson studied Jake's rough diagrams. The theory is sound, but the coordination required would be incredible. One mistake, and all three ships could be destroyed. We're going to be destroyed anyway if we don't try, Jake pointed out. Captain Vexitar looked at his instruments. Power core failure in 7 minutes. Jake, if we do this, how do we coordinate three different command systems? Jake thought for a moment. We don't. We let one person coordinate everything manually. Someone who understands all three systems and can think fast enough to adapt when things go wrong. Who? Tekvar asked. Everyone looked at Jake. Oh, he said quietly. You mean me? You would need access to all of our command systems, Teliana said. Full control over three ships. That's unprecedented. It's also our only chance, Vexitar said. Jake, are you willing to try? Jake looked around at the alien faces staring at him. A few hours ago, these beings had been strangers. Some had even wanted to arrest him. Now they were asking him to save all their lives. Let's do it, he said. The next few minutes were the most intense of Jake's life. With Teliana and Kyleson helping him, he connected his simple human computer system to the advanced alien networks. His fingers flew over controls that had been designed for beings with 4 arms instead of 2. Power transfer beginning, Kyleson reported. All ships are now linked. Jake watched the energy readings on his screens. The Stellar Dawn's failing power core was still dangerous, but now its energy was being shared and controlled by the other ships. It was like turning a raging river into a calm lake by making it broader. It's working, Teliana said, amazement in her voice. The power levels are stabilizing. But Jake wasn't done yet. Now we need to test the navigation systems. If we're going to fly as one ship, all the engines need to work together. Impossible, Tekvar muttered, but he was watching Jake's work with fascination despite himself. Jake linked the navigation computers of all three ships to his own system. On his screen, he could see the combined vessel as one entity. It was ugly and awkward, like three different animals tied together, but it was stable. "All ships, prepare for coordinated movement," Jake announced. "We're going to fly to the nearest Zelkari station together." The joined ships moved slowly at first, like a giant learning to walk. But Jake's coordination system worked perfectly. When one ship pushed forward, the others adjusted automatically. When one ship turned, the others followed. It was clumsy, but it worked. "Incredible," Captain Vextar said. "In all my years of space travel, I have never seen anything like this." Commander Thekvar watched the displays in silence for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. "Human. Jake Miller." "Yes, sir? I was wrong about you. I thought you were a primitive creature who could only cause trouble. But you have shown abilities that our most advanced computers could not match." Jake smiled. "We all have different abilities, Commander. That's what makes working together so powerful." The trip to the Zelkari station took 18 hours. During that time, Jake worked with the alien crews to improve the connection systems. Telana proved to be an excellent student, learning his methods quickly and adding her own improvements. "How do you think of these solutions so fast?" she asked while they recalibrated the power distribution system. "I don't think of them as problems," Jake replied. "I think of them as puzzles. And I've been solving puzzles my whole life." "On your world, do all humans think like you?" Jake laughed. "No, everyone thinks differently. That's one of humanity's greatest strengths. When we work together, we can, solve almost any problem." When they finally reached the Zelkari station, crowds of aliens gathered to see the strange triple ship that had appeared in their space. News of the first contact with humans spread quickly through their network. "Captain." Vextar stood with Jake in the docking bay as they prepared to separate the ships. "Jake, you have given us more than just repairs. You have given us a new way of thinking about problems." "You gave me something too," Jake replied. "You showed me that friendship can happen between any intelligent beings, no matter how different they are." Commander Thekvar approached them, looking uncomfortable. "Human Jake Miller, I owe you an apology. I acted with fear and prejudice instead of wisdom." "We all make mistakes," Jake said. "The important thing is that we learn from them." Telana came running up to them, excitement in her voice. "Jake, the High Council wants to meet with you. They want to establish formal relations between our species." Jake looked surprised. "I'm just a cargo pilot. Shouldn't they meet with important humans, like diplomats or scientists?" "You are the first human we met," Vextar said. "To us, you will always be the most important human. You showed us what your species is truly like." As Jake prepared to return to his ship, he realized that his simple decision to help strangers had changed everything. The diplomatic mission was successful, and the war between the star systems was prevented. But more than that, two species had found each other among the stars. 6 months later, Jake was still flying cargo routes, but now he also carried messages between human and Zelkari colonies. His old ship had been upgraded with Zelkari technology, while Zelkari engineers studied human design principles. The galaxy had become a smaller, friendlier place, and it all started because one person chose to help when others needed it most. Jake smiled as he looked at the stars through his cockpit window. Out there, somewhere, friends were waiting, and that made all the difference in the universe.